Do you need help improving your carnivore diet? Hey, what's shaking bacon? My name is Bruno Paducci. I hope you're doing well. So I've been doing this carnivore diet consistently for almost 3 years. And before that, I had a rough time sticking with it. So yes, I started doing it in 2018, but I don't really count those years leading up to 2021 because I really wasn't that consistent. I was either on it or off it. And when I was off it, I was way off of it. So I was dealing with a sugar and carbohydrate addiction. So if you find you're at that same point and you're having difficulty sticking to a carnivore diet, I have some recommendations for you. And I hope you pay attention to these because the most important one's closer to the end of the video. So the first thing you need to do, and I've mentioned this lots of times in my videos, is you need to recognize if you're an abstainer or you're a moderator. If you're an abstainer and you find you just have to stay away from carbohydrates because you have a sink or swim attitude, it's an all or nothing, you can't eat carbohydrates and moderate them at all. You just have to go without them or binge on them. And when you're not eating them, you're obsessing about them. You need to get over that hill. And getting over that hill is difficult. But once you're over that hill and you've been there for quite a while, maybe a few months or more, you have a lot more confidence and you don't have the same addictive qualities that you had before. And that's a difficult place for some people to get to. Typically for me, I found it's about 3 months. Now there's lots of great carnivore influencers that are out there. There's Dr. Baker, Dr. Taffy, and there's also Dr. Berry, but there's other influencers as well that you could pay attention to. Now, yes, you've been able to pick up lots of tips and hopefully you've been able to pick up lots of positive things watching my channel, but I don't offer coaching. I'm not a coach. So I have a lot of experience doing this, and coaching might be something I might do one day when I get to a desired weight. Now, coaching is something I may do one day, way down the line, but it's not an immediate goal of mine. I want to get to where I want to be so I can really set the example and show people that I've gone through what they've gone through, and I've gone through lots of the difficulties they've gone through. And I do have some medical training in my background. I recommend more than anyone Kelly Hogan, and here's why. One, I've had personal experience with Kelly Hogan. Now, I've been in Kelly's groups for about 2 years now, and I highly recommend Kelly because she's gone through what lots of people out there, you guys, are going through as well, where you're trying to get consistent or up your carnivore game. And it's really difficult because sometimes people are just learning about carnivore and they just don't know where to begin. So I think it's a real strategic goal to have a direction. So not only are you not going to go around in circles trying to figure out this carnivore thing, but you can start at a starting point and hopefully just go in one straight direction. Now that straight direction you'll find is a little jagged as you move along it because it's not always easy for people. But what happens is you have someone who can steer you in a good direction and kind of not hold your hand, but really take care of you and watch and warn you if you're about to get into any dangerous territory. And she knows what it's like to deal with an addictive mind. Kelly Hogan's lost a lot of weight herself. She's lost over 125 pounds. She first did it going zero carb, and then after 5 years, she went to carnivore. And yes, there is a difference between the two. Are you zero carb or are you carnivore? Carnivore is living off of just meat. Zero carb, you can still have things like aspartame and certain zero or practically zero carb foods. So carnivore is a meat-only experience. Now, Kelly's a pretty interesting person because she has 14 years experience just with straight carnivore. Her 14th anniversary is actually coming up this month. So kudos to her. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. There's lots of other long-term carnivores out there as well. It's interesting because when you can relate to that, you have someone that you can understand and they have an understanding of how you think. And that's more important, I think, than other people out there. And I'm not pointing fingers or looking down on anyone else if they haven't had a substantial amount of weight loss, but they've had other health benefits. That's great. But if you're trying to lose a lot of weight and increase your health quality, then I personally like the idea of going down the road of someone who's been down that road. And that's where Kelly Hogan comes in. She really is a centerpiece of the carnivore community. She's one of the carnivores that influenced all those other doctors out there when they were learning about carnivore. They were going to her and people like her for advice and for strategies. So you got to keep in mind, there's a lot to be said about someone who's got the legs behind them, someone who's been doing this a really long time, someone who's gone out of their way to learn and understand more about addictions. She's taken courses. She's tried to better herself, not just as a person, as a carnivore, but also as a coach. She's a carnivore coach. That's what she does professionally now. She offers classes and you're part of this Facebook group for the month. So you sign up for a month. It costs $50. That's the current pricing. She's been that price for a while. She hopes to stay that price a really long time. And here's the really cool thing about Kelly. She's not in it for the money. Yes, of course, she's making money off of it. So everyone does a career for a living. Everybody makes money on what they do, even if they love doing it. She has to be compensated for her time. And this is where the cool part about Kelly comes in. She could easily just keep expanding and expanding and expanding her business. And she was at the point where she had a lot of people doing carnivore in 1 month. And she backed off. She was like, you know what? I found my limit to what I can comfortably do. And I kind of had to pass it to figure it out. And she drew back. Lots of other people in her shoes would have just found other ways to keep on expanding their business and turn it into a little empire, hire other people, make other people carnivore coaches. She just wants to keep this a one-person show. And if she's doing it and she can handle this comfortably, then that's what she does. As soon as it starts to get uncomfortable, then she pulls back. And I really respect her for doing that because it shows she's not in it for the money. She could have just made this a career where she could just turn this into like a multi-million-dollar business should she want to. Now, of course, no one's going to turn away a multi-million-dollar business if that's something that happens to go along in lines with your values and your interests and your goals. And that's where I have a lot of respect for Kelly, because she could have easily done that, but she's sticking with her goals and her values. And that's what really has a huge impact in her coaching as well. She's a direct person and she's a really kind person and a tactful person. It's a difficult thing to get because I could be a good person, but I'm not always the most tactful person because sometimes I'll tell you what you don't want to hear, whether you wanted to hear it or not. Kelly can do that for you, but she'll be way more tactful about it. And that's where she's a really good person when it comes to coaching. She's one of those people that will listen to your story and try and fix it. And more importantly, try and teach you how to fix it. She's not there to hold your hand through it. She's there to help you through it. She's there to help you navigate through your dysfunctional thinking and your bad relationship with food. That's what a carnivore coach is there for. And that's what Kelly excels in. So after doing this for over 2 years, it's coming up to 2.5 years for her. She's a seasoned coach. She's literally coached thousands of people now. She has a lot of hours under her belt. And I can tell you, over the 2 years, I've seen her coaching evolve. And she's always trying to find a way to keep seasoned members in the group interested, as well as new members in the group. So, I mean, she has 20 years of teaching experience behind her. So she knows how to survey a group, figure out everyone's needs, and keep an eye on about the same level of people, usually around 30 to 35 people a month in each group. So she touches base with you in the Carnivore Facebook group if you need it. You can ask any questions through the group, or you can bring up questions in the online Zoom meetings that you get weekly. So if you're having difficulty sticking with carnivore and we're going into the holiday season, I strongly recommend that you keep Kelly Hogan in mind and her coaching groups. You can find her always with the link underneath my video for Kelly Hogan on Instagram. It's Kelly Hogan 91, I believe. And you can go into her carnivore coaching groups from there and purchase whatever session is available. And I highly recommend you do that. So it's a really good small community. You got to find your tribe. I think that's really important when you're doing a carnivore journey and you're just in the first 6 months of it. It's really important that you start off on the right foot. If you haven't been able to be consistent with carnivore, or you haven't been doing it to the quality and level you want, that's where something like this comes in. I wish you well. Take care.